This is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we watched recently.
And today we're doing
Shiva, baby.
About graduating.
Yeah, I mean, I have some exams left, and then I have some interviews that I'm gonna
Really?
do.
You didn't tell me. Where?
I don't think you know the places.
Do you still make those little videos? I always thought those were so fun.
I haven't done one in a while.
So, acting is still your goal.
No, it's like comedy, stand-up.
Okay, so I know this is slightly older film. It's from 2020. It's directed and written by Emma Seligman of recent Bottoms fame, and also stars Rachel Sennott of recent Bottoms fame. This is actually Emma Seligman's first debut film, and I hadn't watched it. I'd only watched Bottoms, and I loved Bottoms. And then I finally watched this, and I was like, all right, I know why I loved Bottoms.
Anaina, famous Bottoms enjoyer.
Exactly. It's such a funny, hysterical, tense film where you're simultaneously at the edge of your goddamn seat, but falling off of it because you're laughing so hard. And the premise is Rachel Sennott's character, Danielle. She is at a Shiva, which is a Jewish funeral service that lasts all day. And she is surrounded by family, her parents primarily, and her parents' friends, and interestingly enough, her ex-girlfriend, and even more so interestingly enough, her sugar daddy, who is there with his wife and newborn baby. That is the premise for anyone's horror.
This also sounds exactly like Euphoria episode as well.
Yeah, and it is a horror film for Rachel Sennott's character because she is constantly stuck in this loop and tug of war between her parents trying to get her a job, literally pimping her out to anyone and everyone they can find, and her sugar daddy, who she's pimped herself out to, her ex-girlfriend, who she has a weird relationship with because they seem to have a lot of sexual tension but fucking hate each other's guts, which amps up the sexual tension. And then all of her family, friends and relatives around her who keep commenting on the fact that she has become so thin, which I found not pleasant but reassuring to know that someone outside, I don't know, the Indian and South Asian community does that as well.
Body shaming is a global issue.
Right. Wonderful to know it exists everywhere. Not really, I'm joking. It's awful, but I mean, it was very present. And yeah, it just feels like such a tense film where at every corner Danielle turns, there is just some devastating tragedy waiting to happen. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And what makes it worse is that the newborn in the film is almost always constantly crying. This is her sugar daddy's newborn child with his very young non-Jewish wife. And that brings me to the sound of this movie. The sound of this movie adds to 80% of the tension, where the music, you're like, all right, stop with the violins, I'm going to piss myself. And the baby is crying, and then everyone is constantly on Danielle about what she's doing with her life and why she doesn't have a job and why she's going to grad school and her queerness has to be hidden, but not really. Her parents are kind of okay with it. But then her parents are also like, you need to get a job. We're going to sell you out to, I don't know, the sugar daddy's wife, I guess, of all people. and then Danielle is not an angel as well. As soon as she finds out that her sugar daddy is, married with a child, she goes into the bathroom and sends him topless pictures on his phone.
Wow.
And then conveniently forgets her phone unlocked in the bathroom for her ex-girlfriend to find. And so it's just, none of the characters are fun or great, but Emma Seligman just turns it into one of the funniest films ever.
This sounds like such low stakes, but elevated to such high tension.
It is 100% that. The whole time I'm thinking, bro, just tell them he's your sugar daddy. Just tell them. I don't fucking care. But there are moments where this film has genuine tenderness as well, when Danielle has reached the end of her wits and she is sobbing and her mom's like, please tell me what's going on. please, please. It happens multiple times. And she gets really close to doing that repeatedly, but she just can't get it out. And yeah, I think it speaks to like the fact that sometimes when you're 20 something about to graduate, you don't have answers. You don't know why you're crying in the middle of a shiver.
Couldn't relate.
Right? You don't know why you're crying in the middle of a shiver. Is it because your sugar daddy is there and you've been taking money off of him and he doesn't know? Or that, you actually like him and he has a wife and a child? Or you don't know what you're going to do with your life and your ex-girlfriend is off to grad school and is going to become a famous rich lawyer.
Yikes.
And you were going to do that, but you're not anymore. And you changed your major like a billion times and everyone keeps nagging you for that. But everyone also keeps nagging you about the fact that you're not eating or not helping out enough. So it speaks a lot to like the early 20s experience. And I felt that. Even though nothing about my situation is the same, thank God, I felt it. I felt her like inability to explain what was wrong to my core.
I so much understand this because the fact that you're like this happens, I'm like, yeah, I can't relate to the specifics, but the general reaction it has, the idea of like, again, someone else doing something and you're like, oh, they feel so much more in control of their life. Why do I not have this sense of control? You're not able to explain the decisions you're taking to like family and everything. And everything feels like this weird, chaotic mess that you're just constantly having to navigate. It's just taking that to a logical extreme while also not forgetting the essence of how it makes you feel.
Exactly, yeah. And I guess the ending of the film, spoiler, is all of them pile into her dad's minivan. And by all of them, I mean her ex-girlfriend, a random relative, her sugar daddy's wife, their baby, her ex-girlfriend's mom, and her mom and dad. All pile into one car to be dropped off at their respective homes. And it's just, the film ends with Danielle grabbing her ex-girlfriend. Her ex-girlfriend's name is Maya's hand, which is like a little, sweet moment. The gays win at the end.
Yay.
Yay, I know. But there's no resolution. That doesn't solve any of her problems, does it? So you're just like, I want to know what happened to this poor girl. But then you're just like, nah, nothing. In this moment, it's resolved. It's done. They're going to go home with a screaming baby in their car. And you just have to deal with how shitty life is. In all of that, you do end up forgetting that you are at a literal funeral. We do not know who's died. I could not tell you who died or who like the relatives of the person who died were. Like I vaguely remember their faces, but I have no idea what their characters' names are because I am so focused on Danielle and her like relationships with like the people closest to her. But yeah, I think it does a good job of describing like the pains of being in your early 20s, the pains of not knowing what to do with your life, and the like cultural nuance of living in the Jewish community. And Emma Seligman herself is Jewish. I bet she's speaking from experience. But yeah, like to get to see certain kinds of, I don't want to say representation, but certain kinds of stories that are told in this manner, which is just like, yeah, man, it's life. It happens to all of us.
Fair.
So yeah, I just thought it's a great film. It's available to watch on a lot of streaming platforms, wherever you are in the world. I was in India. I watched it on Mubi. It was on Mubi's top 100 films of all time list.
Wow.
Sure. In the UK, it's on Amazon Prime. So it's a very popular
accessible
film. Exactly. And everyone who's probably watched Bottoms has probably already watched Shiver Baby. I think I'm one of the rare few who hasn't. But if you haven't watched either, just go and watch both. They are both available on Prime in the UK.
Also, like, I think this is a very lean film, if I'm correct. 77 minutes, which is barely a theatrical runtime.
It packs in so much tension that those 77 minutes feel 4 hours long.
I love the Letterboxd review you said, which is like, this is the most anxiety-inducing Jewish film since Uncut Gems.
I read that on a random letterbox and I'm just like, I haven't watched Uncut Gems, but sure.
Next, we're doing Uncut Gems. But no, it's I think also really nice to, even in small moments of representation matters, right? Like you can have those films which talk about like A Real Pain, which is talking about the pain and like the ancestralness of Jewishness and speaking to more like grander themes of Jewishness. And you can talk about small ways like Jewishness comes into your life and how it is that messy life sometimes, which is a global experience for everyone. But also, it's nice to see how that specific culture feeds into it.
Exactly. It's like this is a Jewish film, whatever that might be, representing the Jewish experience, because I didn't know what shiksa meant. And I'm scared to repeat it because I'm scared it might be a slur. But it's said so many times in the film that I had to look it up. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then there's also like some of the things that we're kind of stereotypically led to believe, such as like Jewish people eating bagels a lot, I guess. But there were a fuck ton of bagels in this film. So I'm like, I'm reconsidering what I know about Jewishness as well, because again, I'm not Jewish either. And so it's a discovering or a rediscovering of this different culture that you're seeing from such a different perspective that is the mainstream, that is so unattached from the pain that we are almost always forced to see it through. And you see the humanness of this community and this culture, which I think Emma Salzman gets really well.
Ooh.
Yeah. Overall, I think it's a fucking incredible film. And for a debut, I just read recently as well, it kind of started out as her thesis project at NYU at Tisch. And I'm just like, all right, I see that. It does feel like a very passion project-y film, but it's done so well. And yeah, I can't wait for Emma Salzman to release more stuff.
Sometimes, again, just in that execution where a film really fully comes into its own.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, that was it.
So those were our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us, musical assets from Pixabay. See you again next time.
Bye-bye.